Hello everyone, Cliff here. It has been a while since I've made a video. This is all unscripted. This is kind of impromptu because I wrote a while ago that I was going to do a video as a send-off for the Monster Club since I finished that story, and I gave a lot of people the opportunity to, give their questions and sort of give it the kind of Q&A that it deserved, or at least I thought that it deserved. Unfortunately, I really didn't get a lot of comments. I really didn't get a lot of questions. So my first thought was, I just won't do anything then. I'll just leave it alone. But the more I thought about it, Monster Club has been arguably my favorite story to work on, and my second most popular, definitely, just under Metamorphosis. So even if I don't get a whole lot of questions, I still felt like this needed to be talked about. I felt like this is a story that I really wanted to talk about. So with that question in mind, with that idea in mind, what do I say if there aren't a lot of questions? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk first a little bit about how Monster Club started, where I wanted to take it. I'll talk to you a little bit about each character because each character was very important to me. And then I will answer the few questions that I got, and we'll kind of send off Monster Club with that. So if that's cool with y'all, we'll get started. So you can't really talk about Monster Club without talking about how it got started. And it all got started with my friend at the time, Mika. Now, Mika and I did a lot of projects together, including Monster Club. And how Monster Club got started was Mika, she came to me at one point and she was saying, hey, I'd really like to do a story about a family of vampires. And I wasn't a big fan of that idea. I thought, where can we really go with that? There's not a lot to that. I didn't think I could be creative enough to do that. So for a while, we sat on that idea. But then I remembered when I was a kid, there was this movie I watched, Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. And this was a movie about Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy-Doo, who were hired as gym teachers for a private boarding school for girls, but it turns out all the girls were different daughters of classical movie monsters. And then it hit me. I said, instead of doing a family of vampires, let's do a family of different monsters. This will give me the creativity to experiment with different kinds of monsters and give me the chance to build something new out of this that we hadn't thought of before. So the image you're looking at right now is the very first group image that Mika drew of the monster group. We called them the Monster Club. And of course you have Abraham, Asher, Michelle, Calypso, Tamil, Sarah, and Katie in there. And later new characters would arrive. But before that happened, Mika and I had our infamous falling out. She doesn't talk to me anymore, and that's a different story entirely. I don't think it has anything to do with Monster Club, so we won't go into that. But Mika was the starting point of Monster Club. She gave me a lot of the ideas for the characters. She helped approve some of the character ideas I came up with. She helped design the majority of them. In fact, a lot of the designs you see were her ideas. She was instrumental in making Monster Club happen. So I can't talk about Monster Club without bringing up what she did. But after she left, Monster Club was at a point that I thought I would have to end it prematurely. So for a while, Monster Club looked dead, and I had very little motivation to continue it. And then Hanna came along, or y'all may know her by her DeviantArt name, Hiring. Hanna wasn't a huge fan of Monster Club. I mean, she didn't hate it or anything, but she and I were friends, and I told her about my situation, and she did something I never would have expected. She stepped in and said, let me help you redesign the characters. Let me help you bring life back into the story. Because she knew that I was connecting everything to Mika, and without Mika, the story felt dead. So she said, I'm going to step in, and I'm going to help give new life to this. So not only did she step in and help redesign characters, but she straight up drew new art for all of them. She helped create character profiles. She created Annie, who is a brand new character. She created what I call the Three Musketeers of the Monster Club, the combo group, Naomi, Tori. She created those three. It was very helpful. It was very fun. She made me enjoy writing it again. And thus I could continue writing it. She even helped me bring life to the farm group, which were a group of Monster Club members who I designed a little later that never made it into the story, and I was so happy to see that. There's no question, Mika saved this. With Mika gone, Hanna saved the story. But then it only got better, because then along came another Hanna, Hanna Valdiabella, who is a fantastic artist, and she was working on doing a visual novel, a VN, and she asked if she could borrow the Monster Club for the VN, and I said, okay, how do you want to do it? And she said, would you write the story or the script, and I'll do the art. And thus we created a visual novel for the Monster Club. It's not great. I mean, it's an original little short story of what would happen if, and we got to create one new character out of it. We got to really experiment with the art, but we're currently working on another version. We're working on a different visual novel. I don't know when it'll be done. We haven't had a lot of time to really dedicate to it, but just with the help of these two Hannas, Monster Club was really pulled back from the brink. But there was still one major problem I was facing with Monster Club. Actually, two major problems. One of them being it was hard balancing all the different characters that I brought in. But I managed that. The other big problem that I had, and this one was a lot harder to fix, I didn't know how to end it. Part of me didn't want to end it. So how do you end something that, in your opinion, shouldn't have an end? In my thinking on how to fix this problem, my family and I ended up going on a trip to Biltmore Estate. Biltmore Estate is a beautiful mansion up in North Carolina. It's gorgeous. I highly recommend going there. Lots of history, lots of beautiful architecture. The mountains are glorious, and I'm a huge mountain guy, so it really blew my mind. But while I was there, it suddenly hit me. I suddenly had an epiphany. I would love it if the Monster Club could live here. And so all of my time after that, I was thinking, how could I make that happen? What could I do to give the Monster Club a Biltmore Estate? And thus, I had my ending. The ending would be giving them a place to live that would be more permanent, a place better than what they had before, giving the characters closure, and that's what I set out to do. Now, when I originally ended the story, myself and several others who read it were not satisfied with the ending. They said, wow, that was too rushed. Wow, that was too corny. There was nothing else that was really bad. And they were right. They were 100% right. I'm not going to deny that. So I had to come back a second and think, whoa, back up, Cliff. We rushed that. Are we really trying to get this done, or are we going to get it done right? And so I rethought the ending, and it took me a few months, but I finally said, all right, I'm going to end it right. So I gave it a more appropriate ending, and now I'm much more satisfied with it. I think everyone's more satisfied with it. And thus Monster Club finally came to a close. It was hard to write. It was very hard to write that ending just because I didn't want it to end. Monster Club for me is a story that shouldn't have an end. Because even when I put the final period on the story, I want more things to happen. I want the family to go on more adventures. I want more fun stuff to take place. I want them to do more things, meet more characters. I have a whole list of other characters that I'd love them to meet. I have a whole list of ideas of what would happen if I wrote a sequel. There should be no end to the Monster Club, and yet all good things must come to an end, and I had to accept that. I still don't fully accept that. But yeah, with that I ended Monster Club. So after recording all of this and looking through it, I realized this is going a bit longer than I would have liked it to. So I'm going to break this into parts. This first part is just telling you about how Monster Club came to be and why it went where it went and what it is now. Next part, I will talk in depth about each of the characters and dedicate some time to telling you my thoughts and opinions about them. And then after that, I will answer all your questions. If you have questions before I get to that video, please leave a comment or post it on my DeviantArt page. I will have a link in the description to both of the Hanna's DeviantArt pages and a link to the visual novel that Hanna Valdiabella created. If you're interested in getting that, it is free. So that's that, and thank you guys for watching. I will see you in part 2.